Thank you all for being here today, and welcome to the 2025 Powering Alabama's Future webinar series hosted by the Alabama Mobility and Power Research Center at the University of Alabama. My name is Elizabeth Pettit. I serve as the Workforce Development Coordinator at the AMP Center and will be hosting today's episode. I would like to start us off by sharing a bit more about the webinar series and introduce our panelists here. The goal for this series is to provide those interested in the battery manufacturing and electric vehicle industries with a general understanding of various topics such as infrastructure, mining and supply chains, workforce development, safety, economic development, and the like in the great state of Alabama in easily digestible chunks. This episode is titled Alabama, an Industry of Opportunity. It explores why Alabama is emerging as a crucial hub for battery production, manufacturing, and infrastructure. Now that my long-winded introduction is done, I would like to take a moment for the panelists to introduce themselves. If you could each share your name, affiliation, and what you or your company do, that would be greatly appreciated. And Veronica, we will start with you.
Sure, great. Thank you, Elizabeth. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Veronica Kroc, and I'm a Senior Project Manager at the Alabama Department of Commerce. Commerce serves as a lead economic development organization within the state, and I have the privilege of being a member of Alabama's statewide EV battery team. In this role, I work across industry, research, utility, also work with our workforce partners to strengthen our state's position in the rapidly evolving battery economy.
Hi, I'm Micah Ridge. I'm the Executive Director of the Alabama Mobility and Power Center, a center at the University of Alabama focused on doing research and development surrounding batteries and electric mobility, as well as the training of the workforce supporting that industry. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, I'm Mike Nickel. I work for Mercedes-Benz. My title right now here is I'm over battery production operations in our battery manufacturing center, and also the head of engineering for the main vehicle plant. I think everybody knows, but we produce SUVs, both gas and electric, for the global market here in Vance, Alabama.
Hey, I'm Mindy Stevens with Alabama Power Company. I work in our Economic and Community Development Organization. Alabama Power serves the southern two-thirds of the state, approximately 1.5 million customers. Thanks for having me.
It is wonderful to have you all here today. As our listeners can see, we do have a great group who brings such a strong wealth of knowledge about the overall battery industry to this discussion. So without further ado, we will go ahead and dive right into today's questions and discussion. First up, I have a question for Mike Nickel with Mercedes-Benz US International, or MBUSI. Mike, how are your companies adapting their manufacturing processes here in Alabama to accommodate the shift to battery and electric vehicle production?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question, and a very complex question, given what's going on in the market these days. But we've invested heavily here at our locations, both at the battery plant, which was a greenfield site to accommodate full battery production for our vehicles at the main plant. On top of that, to accommodate electric vehicle production in the main facility, each shop has basically tailored their installation to accommodate the new product, as well as making sure it fits with the existing products that we build in the facility, legacy products, as well as the future gas. So it's a little bit of a complex question that requires a little bit of thought based on what types of processes you're trying to accommodate. The building of batteries is pretty isolated to its product, but when you integrate that battery and the electric vehicles into the main facility, you've got to accommodate both sets of models. So I think we've geared up quite nicely to be able to handle whatever the market is requesting from us from a sales perspective.
Yes, and you guys have quite the robust operation going out there. I live over that way myself, so I'm over there quite a bit by both the battery plant and the main manufacturing plant there. Certainly a lot going on. A follow-up to that original question, what specific job opportunities in manufacturing and engineering do you anticipate will grow in the coming years? And how are you preparing the local workforce?
Sure. Yeah. Also a good segue, into this question based on all the things that this plant has done, building its historical products and then into the future products now, which involves EVs. And I would say that the job opportunities are they're a let's say a maturity or a continuation of what the needs are based on building electric vehicles and not just building electric vehicles, but also in smarter ways of running manufacturing operations and the different skill sets that are needed to be more effective with your utilization of your people. I would say also on top of that, what's really needed in today's complex, very fast-paced engineering and manufacturing environment. So, all that being said, the topics, the core foundations of job opportunities here from the hourly perspective, they get more and more detailed. There's more complexity in the repair of these vehicles. There's more complexity in the manufacturing of these vehicles. From the assembly line perspective, from the let's call it the admin functions, automation and robotics and controls are always at the core foundation of what you need in a facility this size. That hasn't changed a lot since we started the facility up, but what has changed is now you see more and more of the need for people that are skilled in data analytics, people that are skilled in the utilization of AI-based systems to make you more well-rounded and more effective engineering and managing some of the complex systems that we have in the facility. There's a lot more data to be dealt with to be effective in what you're doing. So that requires smart interfaces to gain your time back as an engineer or as a leader to properly manage the systems that you're responsible for. On top of that, we've always got challenges to move sustainability in the right direction here with our KPIs, and that's all aspects of the environmental side of the business, whether we're talking about water, electricity, air, natural gas consumption, scrap reductions, waste materials. All those different things require good systems and good skills around managing them properly and to move things in the right direction. Obviously, sustainability is one of our core fundamentals here. So there's always work to be done in the sustainability corridor of building product. Training programs go hand in hand with everything that I've just mentioned, both from the hourly workforce and the local programs that we partner with the different communities here. We've had just big relationships with Alabama and also with Shelton State over time to develop programs that have really yielded some good pipelines of skills that we need for our business. And we're constantly trying to tailor those programs to meet the needs and meet the changing needs of what the facility needs down the road. We've got, a lot of benefit from our apprenticeship and internship programs that we do here with the different communities. Our co-op program always brings in an excellent pipeline of skilled engineers or skilled resources to the facility. We don't see that doing nothing but strengthening over the upcoming years. Continuous improvement in the facility also means continuous learning for our current staff of people that we have in the facility, and our HR team is constantly working on different things tools that we can use to grow, let's say, our in-house skill sets for the people that already work here, whether that happens to be through some of the programs that we offer here locally or different different partnerships with things like LinkedIn Learning or different programs like that, trying to be as creative as possible to continue to get more self growth out of our current workforce. And as people are hungry for that, things are changing. You've got to kind of change with the times a little bit to keep people on the edge of what skills are more needed. And it wasn't that long ago where you talked about people being very proficient in data analytics, and then that's a little bit new. I mean, everybody's always talked about using data, but the volumes of data that we're using now require some different skills, and some of those you can get very simply in-house or online in certain locations to help you better utilize your systems. So maybe that's a long story about kind of what we're doing here, but I think at the end of the day, you need sound engineering disciplines here from the admin side of our business. We also need people with good people skills to work in this environment. So we're kind of looking for a balanced approach, I would say, to kind of what we need to do to staff our jobs going forward.
Is the perfect response. Actually, you brought up a good deal of things, such as the programs that you have local to the area with the University of Alabama. Our students are definitely feeling that kind of shift in skills and the heightened importance of those things that are needed to go into the workforce, whether that be with MBUSI or just the battery manufacturing industry in general. And you also brought in kind of this piece of collaboration and how necessary that is between all of these different sectors within the area to ensure that the workforce is ready and well equipped and good to go, which I can definitely appreciate that from the workforce perspective. Your response also flows perfectly right into my next question that I have for Veronica Kroc with the Alabama Department of Commerce. Veronica, what government incentives are available to companies looking to invest in the battery industry in Alabama?
Great. Thanks, Elizabeth. So we offer a variety of incentives to support small to large projects, and we custom tailor those options to meet individual project needs. First, I'd really like to talk about our best incentive, which is our state workforce training program titled AIDT, Alabama Industrial Development Training. AIDT is consistently ranked in the top 3 in the nation for state workforce training programs, and for good reason. They provide a variety of services for our companies, including recruitment, screening, and training. And all of this is offered at absolutely no cost to our companies. I know Mike can probably talk at length about the benefits of working with AIDT, given their involvement with Mercedes over the past 30 years. Of course, Mercedes is extremely important to us, so we want to make sure that we are doing what we can to support them and help to provide a stable workforce. Second, we have our state incentive program titled the Jobs Act. The Jobs Act, it's made up of 2 incentives, the first being a cash rebate on jobs created in Alabama, and the second being a tax credit based on your capital investment, which may be used to offset your tax liability or may be transferred, allowing for monetization of any unused tax credit. Third, we have Innovate Alabama, an organization whose mission is to provide talent development, capital, connections, all in support of startups and smaller sized companies locating in Alabama. Of course, we have various grant programs that are available to assist with site development, assessment, readiness to ensure our sites are up and running on the company's timeline. And we offer all of these programs in close cooperation with our local communities who can obey state and local taxes with one vote, apply grants to ensure the site is ready, and round out incentive offers with their own local programs, which may include cash for jobs created, free or reduced land, permitting waivers, other support programs. So we bring all of these things together in one incentive package that allows companies to mitigate risk and allows us to be their lowest risk option. So we're seeing a lot of success with this approach, specifically in our mobility sector.
Wonderful, Veronica. The programs you mentioned are so well-rounded. Whenever I hear someone bring up these programs and companies, it is just always in such positive spirits. They have great feedback, whether it's on a more individual level or at a larger event, always positive things to say about what the Department of Commerce is doing and bringing to this industry. Along those same lines, I want to transition over to Amendi Stevens with the Alabama Power Company. Amendi, what investments or initiatives are underway to ensure that energy delivery is sustainable, reliable, and maintained in support of this growing sector?
Thanks, Elizabeth. Already nearly a third of Alabama Power's electricity comes from clean energy sources. So these include solar, hydroelectric, and nuclear energy. Some recent investments include various solar projects across the state, different modernization of hydroelectric and nuclear facilities, new investments in natural gas plants to support grid reliability. And we also have wind partnerships with a couple of out-of-state providers. And all of these efforts are part of a larger clean energy strategy that's set forth by our parent company, Southern Company, that includes a goal of net zero carbon emissions by 2050. We're also doing a couple other things around grid resilience, so advancing solar battery units, distributed energy resources, and fleet modernization to improve the grid. And at our company, reliability is always number one priority for us. So we've made significant investments in grid modernization, doing things like advanced metering, automation, and just more resilient infrastructure overall. And we're also always looking at alternatives, including battery storage and managed charging solution for EVs to help balance the load on the grid. We also do things to support customer education, so education programs to help customers reduce their energy use and to promote sustainability. I also wanted to mention that we're currently building our first utility scale battery energy storage system at the former Plant Gorgas site in Walker County. This facility will store 150 megawatts of electricity and will help us better understand how we can use battery systems on our grid to ensure reliability.
Awesome. That is wonderful news to hear of this new facility. I cannot wait to see how it changes things in the state of Alabama, improves that, like you said, reliability and sustainability of this industry here. So that is fantastic news. For our very last individual question, which is really two questions, I have one for Mike Oatridge here with the AMP Center. First up, how is the AMP Center supporting Alabama's emergence as a hub for battery innovation and electric mobility? And then the second piece to that, can you speak to the AMP Center's role in advancing research, building public-private partnerships, and accelerating workforce development to support the state's evolving battery ecosystem?
Sure, yeah. Thanks again for having this webcast. The AMP Center is really set up to support industry. That's its whole job. So kind of dissimilar to a lot of research centers at universities who are focused on research, we're focused on economic development that is empowered by research. So especially in this particular segment of this industry, the battery industry has been dominated by China for the last 50 years. So currently, over 70% of all the batteries produced worldwide are produced in China. We have to get control over our raw materials, our processing of those raw materials, the production of battery components and batteries to be able to remain a viable industry, not just from automotive, but we're seeing, as Mindy mentioned, a large growth in stationary battery storage. And of course, there's all the other batteries that go into your laptops and your cell phones and so on. So one of our initiatives, one of the areas within our center is our Battery Research Center. Our Battery Research Center is a state-of-the-art facility where we can characterize materials down to an atomic level before they enter into the battery supply chain. We can then build the components, the anode, the cathode, the separator, utilizing mass production equipment on campus. We then assemble those batteries into either coin or pouch cell formation, and that could be single stack, Z-fold, or multi-level, single-sided, double-sided. And then basically go through the aging and formation of the battery and then advanced characterization after the fact. The reason that this is important is right now, the biggest disadvantage in manufacturing batteries in the United States is the yield loss. In other words, the amount of scrap that is created by manufacturers in the United States. It's about 30 to 35% higher than it is in China. So we have to understand the root causes of that scrap so that we can start to mitigate the root cause at the production level so that we can be competitive with our Chinese counterparts. That leads into the second part perfectly, because at the end of the day, that research has two distinct outputs. The first output, of course, is innovation. So if we have innovative breakthroughs in battery technology, either in the processing of the batteries, the manufacturing of the batteries, the raw materials that go into the batteries, all of those are going to be highly developed. And in the pursuit of that innovation, we're going to start to understand what we don't know. And that's what I'm really interested in, is what we don't know. So you might go all the way through school and end up with a degree in electrical engineering, but there are certain components of electrical engineering that are not necessarily taught because we have never participated in the global battery industry in the United States up until now. So as we start to identify those gaps, how do we develop programs that industry has asked us to develop and insert those into existing curriculum across many different fields of education? And that includes K through 12, 2-year, and 4-year colleges. So really, our workforce development program is the biggest output of the research, which is understanding what we don't know and then taking action to fill in those gaps.
Thank you for that, Mike. What a really good description there. I can add to that and say, working here at the AMP Center, it really does feel like we do a little bit of everything just to strengthen Alabama's position within the battery industry here in the Southeast. So I can appreciate all the hard work that goes on here. To wrap up our questions, I do have one for all of our guests here today, so please feel free to jump in as necessary wherever you can add. How do you see the growth of the battery industry influencing other sectors of Alabama's economy?
Maybe I can start if that's all right. I mean, one thing that we've seen here is based on getting into the battery manufacturing side, it also puts us into different developments, at least from our side in the energy sector, such as the growth of our Second Life Solutions, which has everything to do with remanufacturing batteries or repurposing batteries from the field into different purposes for renewable energy or local power sources or storage sources or things like that. So, that is also another, segment of the industry that has grown as a result of the EV world. On top of that, the recycling side of the business is now growing differently based on battery production. So there's a number of different things that are spinning off as a result of battery production or the battery industry growing. I would say not only that, when you think about the specialized skills that are needed, that support either the manufacturing or the research and development or even different tools and different sources of equipment, manufacturing equipment that's used in battery production or electric vehicle production. Those are all growing as a result of the industry changing. So there's a lot more things that are popping up as a result as a result of this industry doing what it's doing.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you just said. I think it's important to understand that we are in a very large change in our the environment that we work in as humans. So we've started to see more and more use of batteries. It started really with cell phones and laptop computers. But right now, the large growth, about 28% year-over-year growth in electric cars worldwide. But if you look at stationary storage, it's about 30% year-over-year growth. And cell phones and laptops and things like that are sustained at a little over 10% year-over-year growth. So your question was, what other areas does it affect? The better answer to that question is, what areas does it not affect? Because it really affects almost every single facet of everything we touch every single day. And we've already mentioned national security a few times. If we don't control the power source for most of the things we use in our lives, our world will look very, very different than it does now in the next 20 years. That's why the time is now to really take action on how to overcome, some of the struggles we have in our dependency of foreign supplied batteries.
I would just add that from, an economic development standpoint, we really see the growth of the battery industry in our state acting as a catalyst, for transformation. And we, see our central location in the Southeast and our existing infrastructure as a benefit to make it ideal to recruit industries all across the battery supply chain. So, along with that, also, as both Mikes mentioned, that'll really impact the job opportunities available and research and development as well in the state.
Yes, I love that the discussion has led to overall workforce development in general, that although the battery industry is growing, it is not just about batteries. It's about everything else, every supporting industry, all of those good people, all of those good industries that are growing at the same rate, if not more, because of that, because of those companies that are coming into the state of Alabama as well, all of those pieces working together and moving together. You all have shared such wonderful insights into the battery and related industries within Alabama and have truly given our listeners a strong introduction to this field. As always, the AMP Center thanks you for your continued support. And for our listeners out there, be on the lookout for our upcoming webinar episodes. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at empettitt@ua.edu or the AMP Center directly at ampcenter@ua.edu. See you next time.